just want to not feel as if they are walking on eggshells. All of us at any given moment can say things the wrong way, make mistakes.
Welcome everyone to another video. Today, we are going to delve into a subject that we're all well aware of, is that old cancer. And I got a clip here from Fox News with Piers Morgan explaining the way he feels on the cancel culture. So let's jump into this clip.
He's the host of Piers Morgan Uncensored, and you are fired up about this.
Yes.
I mean, you saw both sides upset about cancel culture and Rolling Stones embracing it. Which side are you on?
Well, it's complete lunacy to say it's good for democracy. It's the complete opposite. It's terrible for democracy. If you live in a free democratic society, you should have the basic fundamental right to have freedom of expression and freedom of speech. But the antithesis of that is this mindset that Rolling Stone have put out with this writer, which is the woke mindset, which is you will agree with everything I say.
Okay, real quick, before we go further into that interview, let's look at what he's pertaining to with the Rolling Stones article. Let's jump over to that. Okay, so we're looking at this article here, and he just goes on to explain the way that they feel. I mean, I'm not going to read this, verbatim to you. I'll link it in the description. But what he's basically saying is that people do not have a voice, and it's cancel culture is good because in this period that we're in with social media, that people don't have a voice to cancel people out when they say something negative about their personality or what they had said or those people in general. So basically, the article is saying that that's a good thing, why cancel culture is good for the democracy, right? And I don't know where, as people, that we've lost the point where we can take the whole aggression toward individuals, right? So the old sticks and stones don't apply anymore, that everybody's hurt, their feelings are hurt. Yeah, it does hurt. We all know that if somebody close to you, a family member or a spouse or neighbors or coworkers say something to you, or it's behind your back, them type of things. The old saying is if they're talking about them, they're talking about you. And you get that feeling that somebody stabbed you in the back, right? Your close friend or whatever. And then we're hurt. But we don't have social media or cancel culture. We can't go to our boss and say, dude, you got to get rid of this guy. I mean, some people have done that, right? But generally we don't go get rid of this guy because he hurt my feelings. See, my way it is that you just got to take it, right? No matter what, if you're in a political office or you're in a job environment or you're out in public or wherever on social media, unless that person is saying, I'm going to do some violence to this person and I'm going right home to get some kind of whatever. Okay, that's not freedom of speech. Hate speech is allowed. Okay, if you want to be verbally abusive to somebody, that's allowed, right? But there was a case several years ago that an individual was insulting a police officer. They were using foul language, and then this police officer took it to court. It went to the Supreme Court in Michigan, and they said it's all within the right of freedom of speech if you want to use vulgarity to insult an individual. As long as you're not attempting violence or you're in the midst of violence, people are going to have to take it. I mean, I don't say it's okay, but it's not okay to use it in a form of at all. But if you do use it, you shouldn't be canceled, right? Or thrown out of a position because you offended somebody. I mean, people are just going to have to get a thicker skin. That's all there is. I don't like it happen to me, okay? Sometimes it lasts for a long time, but hey, it's just part of life. We don't live in a perfect society. We don't live in a perfect humanitarian type treatment of other individuals. There's no perfection involved in that. This guy uses, he talks about Piers Morgan attack on Meghan Markle and they'll go into that in this interview. But basically, he goes on to say that it's conservativeville, it's free country, cancel culture is un-American, which it is. I mean, we don't have you don't have a freedom of speech, because the underlying thing of this whole deal is who gets to make the judgment call. Does a judge? And where does the judge get his information? Where does he get his foundation to say, you can't say this? There's no end to it. I mean, who has the control of saying, you can't use this word, you can't insult this person, you can't say it this way, you can't? There's none. There's no ever will be any kind of foundation that you can stand on to say you can say certain things to certain people, right? Whether it's offensive or not. People are just going to have to walk on with life and forget about it. They're not going to be able to talk to them people. They're not going to be able to associate with them. They just can't, right? But you don't cancel them. So I'll link this article in the description below. So let's jump back into the video.
And Rolling Stone's embracing it. What side are you on?
Well, it's complete lunacy to say it's good for democracy. It's the complete opposite. It's terrible for democracy. If you live in a free democratic society, you should have the basic fundamental right to have freedom of expression and freedom of speech. But the antithesis of that is this mindset that Rolling Stone have put out with this writer, which is the woke mindset, which is you will agree with everything I say about how you should think, act, behave, what you should read, what you should watch, what statues you can revere, what history you can accept. And if you deviate one iota from that, one iota, we're going to shame you, vilify you, abuse you, cancel you, round up your families, and do all sorts of terrible things to you. It is a ridiculous situation we've got ourselves into.
So the things that he is talking about, Piers Morgan, are the things that he does on his show. Oh, I don't know if you've ever watched his show. He brings in guests and he tries to, I don't know necessarily tries to humiliate them, but he says, you know, you shouldn't act this way. Why are you doing this certain things? I mean, you go back to certain videos that he did with, I don't know, Ben Shapiro, for instance, or I can't think of some right off the top of my head, but he sits there and kind of shames him, saying you shouldn't act this way, you shouldn't do this certain thing. Why do you talk like this? Don't you think it's offensive? So he doesn't cancel them, but he tries to make them under his wing, so to speak, under his ideology of what he's thinking is okay for an individual to say or speak or do or fit into culture. So he does the same thing. He can't cancel them, but he tries to humiliate them.
Have to fight back. It's a war. It's a war on our freedom.
So two very powerful people, you and Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle in comedy, you as an international personality, I'm not kidding. You both found yourself saying to yourself, what's going on? Am I going to be alone? What is it like being in that vortex?
Well, listen, I had a situation. I was doing a morning show in Britain called Good Morning Britain. I loved the show. We trebled the ratings in 5 years. It was on fire, this show. And then the Meghan Markle, Prince Harry, Oprah Winfrey wine-a-thon aired. I said I thought it was all a lot of nonsense and dangerous, nasty nonsense. I said I wouldn't believe Meghan Markle if she read me a weather report. I stand by that statement. I think it's aged pretty well, like a fine Chateau Latour 61. But the point that was really startling was she then contacts the boss of my company, ITV, a big network in the UK, and she says, you got to fire him for not believing me. It's racist. So they basically put me in a position where either I apologize publicly to Meghan Markle for disbelieving her lies, or I had to leave. So I decided to leave. Now, was I cancelled? Well, in a way, she engineered my departure from a show that I loved. But I was not going to allow that mentality to force me into some pathetic, insincere apology that I didn't mean. But that's where we've got to, where people like Meghan Markle think they can control actually how people are employed.
But you know, it's important for people like you and guys like Dave Chappelle to say, no, it's not okay. I'm gonna persevere through it, because very few people have the power and prestige that both of you guys had in your separate areas. Elon Musk looked at this article and said this. What doesn't he comment on, by the way? How blatantly obnoxious that they just want to keep canceling people. Do they ever write about music anymore? They should rename themselves Scolding Stone, as all they do seem to do is be holier than thou.
Well, also the point I would make about the democratic point he was trying to make. Look at, for example, what happened with that New York Post story about Hunter Biden's laptop. New York Post, who I do columns for, great paper, one of America's great newspapers, publishes an entirely true story which actually has serious consequences about what the current president may have known at the time when he was vice president about his son's shady dealings over in Ukraine and with Russia and with China. And as a consequence of this true story being published, the woke brigade at Twitter say, you can't publish that. We're going to remove it from our platform. We're going to remove the New York Post Twitter account from our platform. This is 3 weeks.
Take out the president along the way.
3 weeks before the election. All the polls now say, had the public known about that story properly, had it not been censored in that way, had it not been cancelled, then Donald Trump might have won the election. I can't think of a more glaring example of how democracy was damaged by the cancellation attitude.
Absolutely. And if it wasn't for January 6th and everything, the turnabout there, that would have been the focus if we looked at what went wrong in those elections. Meanwhile, Pierce, it's impossible to go anywhere in media and not hear about your show uncensored. You're getting the biggest guests, making the biggest news. And if you don't want to take Pierce's word for it, or my word for it, here's a look at some of the bigger moments over the last year.
The owners of the club, they don't.
The Glazers.
The Glazers, they don't care about the club. I want the best of the club. This is why I'm coming to Manchester United. This is why I love this club. But you have some things inside the club which don't help to Manchester reach the top level.
They're trying to force you out.
Yes, not only the coach, but the other 2 or 3 guys there around the club.
At the senior executive level.
Yes, that I felt betrayed.
The world's most controversial question, bizarrely, has become, what is a woman? You're the British Prime Minister. What is a woman?
Yeah, of course I know what a woman is, an adult human female.
Do you now regret saying death's gone free on Jewish people? Are you sorry you said that?
No.
I think it matters. You should be.
Absolutely not.
He wouldn't believe what is going on right now to this country. And Elvis would probably go to the president, like he did with Nixon, put his foot down and say, what's going on?
All right. I've heard enough of it. Appreciate you guys watching this video. If you would subscribe, hit the like button, share it with your friends and your family, subscribe, hit the bell. I appreciate it. You guys have a wonderful day. Bye now.